Welcome everyone to MadeFor's free taster session about a day in the life of a product manager. Before I will introduce Stephan, who's going to tell you all about this, I will do a short introduction. So also to kick off, kindly request everyone to put your camera on if you feel okay with that. Love to see your faces, and that way we can make it as personal of an experience as possible. We are recording this session, both for learning purposes and also to share some social snippets. So if you don't feel comfortable with that for whatever reason, please feel free to let me know. And I have shared the link to the Miro board that you can also see in front of you on my screen in the chat. So feel free to join it, browse around a bit, which brings me to the next point. What is an actual free taster session? So a free taster is a session using a Miro board and Zoom to explain a current topic in relation to our bootcamp. And today that will be digital product management. There are a lot of different interactive elements also on the board. So feel free to browse around, have a look, also have a look at the previous topics that we have discussed in other taster sessions and interact with everything. The objectives of today. So today we are going to talk about a day in the life of a product manager. So hopefully at the end of it, you will understand that and its different activities within product management, and eventually also good to understand and see if a role in product might be something for you. We are kicking off actually already. I'm going to hand over to Stephan in a couple of seconds, and he will take us through the rest of the show. Naturally, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, either during the conversation or at the end of it. We will make sure to spend some time on those. You are also more than welcome to unmute yourself and directly ask the question, of course. We're not with a super big group, so please feel free to do that and interact as much as possible. So why product? Why are we talking about digital product management? MadeFor is an organization that teaches in a lot of different CX capabilities and skills. And as you see also from the stats on the slide and might know already, customer experience is a top priority in business for the upcoming years. Not only 43% of all businesses put it as their top priority, but also 86% of buyers will pay more for a better customer experience. And this highly reflects also in the search for good talent and roles in some of the most innovative organizations that are out there. So as you can see on my screen here, if you look at, for example, in Amazon, Netflix, Microsoft are requesting a lot of different roles in a variety of different CX capabilities, and product is one of them, and that is what we want to talk about today. So I'm not going to go through all of the numbers naturally, but I would like to invite you and encourage you that if there is another capability or skill that you might be interested in, to have a look at the upcoming tasters. We are definitely going to explore more. You can find them either on a LinkedIn page on the website, so have a look there. Stephan, the floor is yours. What are we talking about today? And feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you. So welcome also on my behalf, and my name is Stephan. Let me briefly introduce myself, but not too long, spend too long on it. I have some interesting stories to share from real life experiences. So I've been working with a lot of organizations in the last couple of years, all trying to maximize the output, the outcome they deliver with the least amount of output. So creating the maximum amount of value, and that's a range from some banking, insurance companies, retail, utility organizations, government organizations, etc. So that's one part of my life. I spend my time also training professional Scrum product owners, but a large variety of people working in product. And another part of my life, a personal part of my life, is that I'm a part-time farmer as well. So we have some horses and sheep, etc., etc. So that's how I balance my life. But let's not talk about that too much. Let's focus on the product part. One of the great, and that's my personal favorite quote as well. One of the things I hear myself repeat a lot of times is the ability to say no to stuff. It's easy to say yes to a lot of stuff, but if you never say no, your yes will also be without value. That's one of the, and I'm already giving away one of my 3 takeaways, which I'll share at the end, is really about providing focus on those things you really think that are valuable. It's easy to say the yes to everyone approaching you with a request, but the specialists you're working with, they really benefit from you providing focus on what has the most value, what to focus on first, what to focus on second, etc. So if we move to a day in the life of, then there are a lot of different levels as a product manager you're focusing on. So it's not only the operational stuff, and unfortunately I see a lot of product managers only focusing on the daily operational stuff, basically handing over a request to a group of specialists and you do your magic and hopefully we're doing the right things. But ideally you're focusing but also on a strategic level, creating a clear vision, what you would like to achieve with the product you're developing, the tactical things, so creating plans for maybe short-term, mid-term. So there are a lot of different activities, and nowadays in many product oriented organization, the Scrum framework is one of the dominant frameworks that is used. So you'll see in this daily schedule some topics related to Scrum, where we create some plans, we get some feedback, we spend a lot of time in creating visions and roadmaps and refining the work, making that easy to understand and small enough so the specialists know what to do. I really encourage you to also look at the evening schedule. At the end of the session, we have some interesting articles and an interesting video to share with you. But I would really like to share at least one, and if the time allows me to, maybe a second example of what it actually means, what you're actually doing. And that's one of the coolest projects I've worked with. That was back then it was called CSC, the organization. Now it's merged with another organization. Now they call it DXC Technology, but it's been quite some while, and it was focused on healthcare. And we worked on several projects to facilitate hospitals in managing patient data. So they had this large electronic patient system, so their hospital information systems, and we were really looking for where the most value is, besides the, people entering stuff into a system. So we created a proof of concept, and this was really one of the coolest proof of concepts I did. We were allowed to bring in all specialists, the best designer of the entire organization. CC had about 130,000 employees, so we were allowed to pick the best designers, the best architects. They were from all over the place. So from the UK, from Germany, Spain, India, we were allowed to see where some interesting value. And we had this great 1 week interaction with several doctors and nurses to figure out what do you actually do during a day, and where do we see potential of focusing or creating some additional value. And what we found out was that both doctors and nurses, they walk around in their white coats with the big pockets, and they have all kind of things in there, stethoscopes, etc. But also this notebook where they write down a lot of stuff, what they do with a patient, what they still need to do. If you look at the flip chart, if you zoom into that, you see all kinds of activities they write down on that notebook. But they write it down, but they also have to enter that into the hospital information system. So that's a huge redundancy of work, and maybe there's some additional value to that to create there as well. So what we did in this proof of concept, we tried to on a handheld device create the same experience of this notebook, and combine it with the several other options available. So as a nurse or doctor, you enter the ward, and you need to check on this particular patient, and this device also notices notice that you're in a certain location and says, well, while you're here, the 3 patients down a little bit further away, the other patient that needs some additional checking as well. So while you're here, please also look at that patient. So there was a location-based intelligence built in there, so to optimize the time you're spending in a certain ward. And it's already, all the things you do there, they're already entered into the system. So you do not have to walk at the end of the day to your computer to actually enter all those things you wrote down in your notebook. So there's a great example to work on. And in about 7 to 8 weeks, we were able to create an entire fully integrated automatically tested proof of concept that could actually be used in one of the sample hospitals we used. That was one of the best experience we had, where we had this just to collaborate with doctors, with nurses, short feedback loops, and continuously measure and improve on the things we run into. Again, this was one of the best experiences I had. To share with you another example, because this is a really greenfield approach and where there's a lot of potential to improve, I would like to share also a story on the city of The Hague. Well, obviously, some of the aspects you need to do is paying taxes. So if you own a certain property, you need to pay taxes. And they created this great online environment where you just log in with your personal identification number or whatever is applicable in your country. And you log in, and then you are provided with a PDF with basically stating this is the amount of property tax we want you to pay. However, there are also some entities that own, well, multiple houses, more than 100 houses. That's a problem, because if those entities log into that same environment, they get the same amount of PDFs that they are that they own houses or they own the properties. So that's not really that friendly. So we were approached by the stakeholders responsible for collecting these taxes. Like, well, this is a problem. You need to create a solution for that. And what we basically had the discussion, well, how often does that occur in a city of close to a million residents? How often does that occur? Is it 10, 20? Well, in maybe probably somewhere around that amount of entities own more than 100 properties. So do we really need to spend a lot of time and effort in creating a customized solution for 10 to 20 of our users? So we decided not to do that. There's too much effort involved. It's too expensive to do that. What we decided was, if you log into that environment owning more than 100 properties, we'll just deactivate that solution. We just replace that with the phone number. Please call us and we'll individually help you, which is a lot less expensive to deliver, and I think it's a lot more user friendly as well, because you're really important to us. And if you want it one total invoice, or you would like to have divided in certain groups, we can make that especially for you. That solution was a lot more valuable to those entities, and was a lot less expensive for the city to fund. So those are two brief examples of the dynamic you run into and the perspective we really would like to see in product managers. Not only looking at creating cool stuff, and because from a technical perspective, it's really interesting to develop a scenario where we deviate these entities to a technological solution, but really looking at what's the least amount of output I can deliver and maximize the outcome we create. So here are two of the examples, and there are a lot of other things you could dive into, look into. And if we look at the boot camp we create, there's some flow to that. There's some elements, and they're all really connected to good product management. So this product, usually there's this product problem or an idea or an opportunity we see where we really need to spend some time. And I do believe that we don't spend enough time on this. Defining the problem. What's the problem we're looking at? And based on that, if we understand this problem, what are potential ideas? And there's a risk in there as well. We make a ton of assumptions where we think something might be valuable. And I don't know if you already had that experience before, but as soon as you've delivered some product or solution, the first response from your users you'll get like, well, now I see this, what I actually meant was, and they want something completely different. So as soon as we run into these assumptions, we need to verify those as soon as possible, whether they're the right solution. So we need to create some plans for that. So not a detailed plan where we create a plan for every single element of the product we're developing. No, we need to identify the first assumptions we made, verify that, and as we go along, investigate and validate if we're doing the right thing. So there are a lot of steps to take. So we need to have for one of the stakeholders in your organization, you obviously need to have some outlook on which direction we're going with this product. For the specialists you're working with, whether those are developers, testers, engineers, they need some clear focus on what we're going to work on the next couple of weeks. So you're focusing on creating detail in that as well, but not too much to look too far ahead. But the first couple of steps you want to work on, creating some acceptance criteria. So when is something done, and done from this specific feature we're delivering, or this specific story we're delivering, but also defining done on our product. When's our product done? I sometimes bring in the example of when I moved in with my wife in the same house. We needed to make some agreements on what is a clean house. So you need to create some transparency on that as well. We had a different perspective on that. Now we have the same perspective, but creating some, I can tell you all kinds of stories about that, but that's a different free taster, I think. My relationship with my wife. Oh, they're recording this. Okay, so and I think this is the last step, the success part. That's, I believe, the most crucial thing nowadays from product management perspective is verifying if we're doing the right things. Are we measuring? Are you measuring whether in which areas your product is making an impact? And I see that if we look at the Scrum adoption rate in many organizations from the last couple of years, we spend a lot of time on basically focusing on the epic, the story and acceptance part, the releasing part, but we don't spend enough time on defining a real problem. What are we trying to achieve with this product, and how are we able to verify if we're on the right track? Are we spending our time in the right way? Does it make an impact for our users or not? I think this validating the value we're delivering, that's one of the next big things you need to focus on from a product management perspective. Every single story should have, or at least you should be able to identify whether or not this makes an impact. I think I covered already a couple of these items, but these are typical environments or activities you do and responsibilities you have from a product perspective, product management perspective. So collaborating with stakeholders, I think those are crucial. I think gathering feedback, we often overlook that. As soon as we've delivered an increment of our product, our stakeholders usually are very happy to applaud the efforts we made. but that's not why we're doing it. We would like to know why they're applauding, why they're happy with the things we're doing. And again, that's gathering that feedback. So you're looking at defining your product backlogs. You're creating running planning events with the specialists, with your stakeholders. So when are we going to work on what? Creating roadmaps, the metrics part, so planning, the KPIs, etc. Answering a lot of questions. It's one of the most demanding roles in the entire product development spectrum. Managing this product, you're working on a strategic, tactical, and operational level every day, and it can shift even within half an hour. So I think I have a couple of minutes left to give you my top 3 of things I really like you to start focusing on. And whether it doesn't really matter if you're a product manager or a product owner, I think these 3 key elements, and if you're doing Agile or Scrum, I think these 3 elements really set you up for being successful. So creating focus, making decisions. I mentioned that earlier, deciding what should go first, second, third, creating that focus. What would you rather have? One thing that's done, or 4 things that are almost done? And I hope that all of you would respond, one thing that's done, because that's the only way that you can assess if you're adding value. So focusing on outcome over output. That's the second very important one. So I think one small example, logging in. As a user, I do not want to log in. That's output. I want something else. I want to achieve a certain outcome. Probably something that I want it to be secure. I don't want other people to see my information. I want to see only the relevant information for me. That's the outcome I want to achieve. Have your specialist focus on what the right output is to deliver. So you don't want an app, you don't want a website, you want something else. And the only way to verify if you're actually creating value, maximizing the outcome, is get stuff done. I wanted to say something else besides stuff, but I wasn't allowed to, but you can fill in the dots there. So focus on done, get stuff done. One thing instead of almost 4.
Thank you so much for that. That is really great. Any questions from the audience about some of the examples that Stephan has given maybe, or some of the key advice? Any questions about that? Or of the bootcamp, of course, also happy to answer any of those. Have a quick look in the chat.
I have a question. Hi, Stephan. I'm Carissa. Great to meet you. I was just thinking about the process of having that focus in order to get things done. And my question is, as a product manager, what are some tools or tips that you have for that, like constant prioritizing always incoming tasks or incoming requests, right? So how do you kind of think through that prioritization and making sure you're focusing on the most important tasks, or delegating or saying no, right? Like you talked about. Just would be curious to hear some thoughts there.
That's one of the most challenging parts, saying no. So there are also different strategies to say no, but what really helps is, first of all, having this clear vision. So having a clear vision on what you'd like to achieve with your product, that's usually one of the references to say no. Based on this vision, it either meets or contributes to achieving this vision or not. If you don't have that clear vision, based on what criteria are you saying yes or no? Second, and that's a pitfall I see many people make, is we have individual conversations with all your stakeholders. So if prior to this free taster session, I would have a one-on-one conversation with all of you and say, well, what would you like to get out of this free taster? You all would bring in a lot of interesting suggestions, and I'll probably create the idea to you that I'm going to cover all your ideas, but I only have half an hour, so I need to make decisions on that. So it would be much more effective, maybe not really efficient yet, but effective, to involve all your stakeholders in this one meeting, given this vision, giving this capacity we have. You decide what to focus on first. Have your stakeholders fight, well, not physically fight, but fight what to focus on first or second. And there's some strategies in there. So there's some techniques like magic estimation. There's some interesting techniques you can do there, where you can make a lot of decisions. And I think the city of The Hague, I set the world record of decision making in government environments. They made 12 decisions in 9 minutes. So I think that's never been beaten. But so there are different techniques and things to follow up on. Final thing, if I can say that really quickly, Barbara, is make it a continuous process of that prioritization. So every 6 weeks, give people the opportunity based on the new things that come in and the things you've already delivered or already working on to reorder the work. So it doesn't come to this one session where you really have to be for the next year to get your stuff done. If we do that every 6 weeks, you can assess if we're on the right track or not.
Does that answer your question a bit, Carissa?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Stephan, as well. I saw that there was one more question from Agnes, but I think that was really closely aligned actually to the question that we just went through. So also thank you for that contribution. And that means that it's 1:30 exactly. So there only rests me a last thing to thank you very much for attending, everyone. And thank you very much to Stephan for providing all the insights and answers that you did today. The very last thing I would like you to do is to just fill out a quick poll about your experience during today's taster session. As mentioned, if you would like to follow more or know more about any of the other capabilities or the Digital Product Management Bootcamp, of course, feel free to browse around on our website. And I hope you all have a lovely rest of your workday. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Team.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.